Hello and welcome to Just Jets episode 167. What is going on? Matt O'Leary going to be hanging out with you. I want to get into the impact that this New York Jets draft class could have on the 2023 season. I want to talk about Makai Beckton not getting his fifth-year option and answer your voicemails. But before all of that, a word from our sponsor. The NFL draft was this past weekend, but there was one prospect that was missed. Who was that prospect? It was Manscaped. With all that they have to offer, they have the Lawnmower 4.0, the Beard Hedge Trimmer. They are two very lovely things that'll help any man out in their grooming experience. They have the elite downfield play with the Lawnmower 4.0, but in 2023, there's the new rookie sensation, the latest, the Beard Hedger, to ensure that your face is a beautiful one. This 1-2 punch of men's grooming is the best acquisition for any at-home GM. Use my code JETS20, that is JETS20 for 20% off and free shipping. Make sure to pick yourself up something nice from over at Manscaped. All right, let's hop into today's episode. Here's what I want to get into is kind of go through, as I said, each draft pick and what I think their impact could be for the New York Jets in year one and just beyond for that. So we'll run through. The New York Jets start this class off with pick number 15, and they go Will McDonald. Now, did they get sniped on all the offensive tackles? Yes, they did. Did they surprise with the Will McDonald pick? Also, yes. I definitely thought that was came as a surprise, but they very much so like themselves a speedy edge rusher. Robert Saleh talks about it a ton in this situation for the New York Jets. He always talks about how he needs a speedy edge rusher and talked about lining Will McDonald up, wide and outside was what he was telling him on the phone. So he's obviously excited about it. But when you look at what Jermaine Johnson was able to do for this team as a rookie, there were a couple nice plays from him. He also made, a little bit of an impact in the run game, but he was a rotational player who is more than likely going to have a bigger role in 2024. As for Will McDonald, I would expect him to have a similar role in the sense that they're probably going to play 25 to 30% of the snaps, would be my guess, as a rookie. And I don't see him racking up a ton of sacks. Now, maybe he ends up with more than 2.5 just because as a pure edge rusher and pure just pass rusher in general, he is better at that element of his game. While I think that Jermaine Johnson is more of a rounded player. He's better against the run than Will McDonald is, where McDonald is more just your prototypical, just a speed rusher off the edge. So maybe he ends up with, a sack or two more than what we saw this past year from Jermaine Johnson. But I would expect him to play pretty much, as I mentioned, just like that rotational style 30% with him eventually the hope pushing to be that double-digit sack guy beyond that in year two and beyond, or maybe 8+ sacks. I don't know if it's like, you're every single year going to be a double-digit sack guy. I would say in that 8+ range, and I would imagine they look at him as a Carl Lawson replacement after this year. I think Carl will be here for this year. He's under contract. The Jets really like him. Bryce Huff, there's no guarantee that he's back. So I think they view McDonald as that speed, bendy, twitched up edge rusher who can fill that role that those other two guys have had so far for the New York Jets in this defense. Then in the second round, the New York Jets go with Joe Tippmann, the center out of Wisconsin. And I guess I was a little bit moderately surprised with this one that they took him over John Michael Schmitz. But there's a chance that he starts right away in year one. I would not be surprised at all if we see him starting in year one over Connor McGovern, because at the price point in which they brought back Connor McGovern, I think that is obviously implies that he could be a backup, McGovern that is, on this team. Well, Tippmann doesn't have to. Like, they are not forced to start him now. That's what the insurance of bringing back Connor McGovern does. So if he starts slow or gets hurt, you have somebody there. But Tippmann is a bigger center. He's 6'6", which is rare to see for a center, but he's crazy athletic. And everyone in this Jets class is really, really athletic. So I guess overall, you can't be too surprised that they preferred the athletic center. And maybe he's a little bit better of a scheme fit for the New York Jets. But I do think he ends up winning the starting role, is serviceable in year one. Like, not abysmal, but not, the best center, in the world. But with his athletic profile, I think he projects to be a long-term starter at this level. If he could be your 10-year center and you don't have to worry about the position every couple of years, that'd be great, because really the Jets haven't found that long-term answer since Nick Mangold retired after the 2016 season. And, they had Mangold for a decade. Before that, they had Kevin Mawai for a long time. And, the Jets have a rich history of centers, but, in my lifetime, they pretty much went from Mawai into Mangold, and that was it. And, you're very lucky to have two of the game's best centers. Mawai's in the Hall of Fame. Mangold, I think, could be a Hall of Famer as well at some point. Just an absolutely unbelievable player. And if Joe Tippmann could just follow that trend, that'd be fantastic. I would love it. Obviously, you sign up for that, but a good starter for a very long time is where I think Joe Tippmann could fall in on this team. Now, they didn't have any third-round picks, so their next pick is round 4, Carter Warren out of Pittsburgh. I would think he is going to get what they initially wanted to do for Max Mitchell last year. They drafted Max Mitchell to be a developmental tackle. He had to play earlier than anticipated because of injuries, but I would think if everything breaks right, Carter Warren really isn't on the field this year. He has, he's a pretty good athlete, which is, again, a trend here. But I don't think he is in their plans to be a starter for this year. Maybe he can develop into that at some point. My guess, or expectation really, is for him to be a swing tackle on this team or a backup tackle. I would be surprised if he earns a starting job. Not saying that he can or that it's impossible. But when you're taking a center, a tackle at this point in the draft, usually they tend to end up being, long-term, potential backups. I mean, they took Chuma Doga, who never really ended up panning out for the Jets. Max Mitchell was in a similar mold there. Warren, who knows? Maybe he would have went a little bit earlier if he didn't get hurt last year in the draft. Maybe he ends up being a top 3 pick instead of a day 3 guy in the 4th round. But my expectation, I'm not necessarily expecting the New York Jets to get someone who's, going to be a long-term starter. The same, I obviously spoke very highly on Tippmann. I think he is someone who's going to be that guy and be a long-term starter. I don't necessarily think Warren is that for the Jets, but I do think he can be a serviceable backup more than likely. In round 5, probably my second favorite pick of the draft, Izzy Abanikanda, running back out of Pittsburgh. He is just insanely explosive, a true home run hitter coming out of the backfield, and has kick return experience, which when the Jets lost Braxton Berrios in the offseason, they were going to, and are at some point going to have to replace him with someone who could return kicks and punts. McCole Hardman can do it. Bam Knight could potentially do it, and add Abanikanda in here as well. I think he has a real chance to be the RB2 on this team this year. Yes, Zonovan Knight was a really nice find for the New York Jets last year as an undrafted free agent. And Michael Carter really took a step back, but I'm not all the way out on Michael Carter. He was solid as a rookie. He was very good as a rookie, actually. And then takes a step back in year 2. Just adds some competition and some depth to that running back room, because there's no guarantee that Breece Hall is ready to go and get the full workload early on in the year. Actually, probably it wouldn't be smart if they were running him 20 times a game, right off the jump. They got to ease him back into it, coming back from an injury. So a guy like Abanikanda is just an insane speedster. He fits the system so well, outside zone rushing scheme. And if holes are opened up for him, he's an explosive guy where he could just, get through the hole and go. I see him, someone on, I forget who it was, forgive me, in the YouTube comments on my reaction, they compared him to Leon Washington and just, the speed at the running back position and has the kick and punt return ability. I like that comparison. If he can be, a solid role player for the Jets over, the next few years, and getting that in the 5th round. I really like that a lot. And I think we're going to like Izzy. He's going to be a fan favorite from this draft class. In round 6, the Jets move back and they get Zaire Barnes, linebacker out of Western Michigan. A speedy linebacker who's not terrible in coverage. That's one of his better traits, is coverage ability and just, awareness around the football. And Robert Saleh has shown that he's liked these guys with some speed at the linebacker position. But I think this is probably a special teams guy. I don't know if he ever develops into a role where he's playing significant time as a linebacker, but landing someone who could be a key special teamer in the 6th round, like that's where you take your swings, and that's where you're able to land those guys, late on day 3 in the 6th round. And to me, that's what Barnes is. And I would think he's probably a special teamer or a practice squad guy in the first year. And that's kind of where I put Jarek Converse, the corner who's really going to be a converted safety. Round 6 pick 204. The Jets were able to grab him, and again, just a really good athlete, has experience playing outside in the slot, and probably projects to be more of a safety at the next level. They like those guys and those projects. They did it with Jason Pinnock. He did not make the roster, and then he ends up starting for the New York Giants. I see a similar scenario here with Bernard Converse, where they're going to try to, transition to him to a new position. First year, probably won't see too much of him. Second year is where he maybe, gets into that role a little bit more. He also has special team experience, so that could help him, rounding out the back end of the roster, or making this team and rounding out the back end of the roster. And the last pick, round 7, 220, Zach Kuntz, tight end out of Old Dominion. He was, again, going to be a fan favorite. I can't wait to watch him in the preseason. I think he's going to be so much fun, but just an absolute huge human being, and a perfect 10 relative athletic score. So he runs with insane speed for his size and his weight. Again, another project. He's in round 7 for a reason, because it's a project, but I think there's a chance he could develop into a red zone jump ball threat with his insane athleticism. Probably a practice squad guy in his first year. Will light up training camp and the preseason, and I can't wait to see him do that. But not really a blocking tight end, so can't be like your every down tight end. But in certain packages, pretty much just like a big slot or a jump ball guy. But I'm very curious to see what he does with the ball in his hands at the next level, and how much his insane athleticism, helps him translate to the next level. But of the day 3 guys, Izzy stands out. Barnes and Bernard Converse don't have a ton of expectation for. Carter Warren, kind of same thing. But Zach Kuntz is someone who I think is a little bit interesting because of that insanely high athletic profile. So really, I think Tippmann and Zaire Barnes probably have the best chance of making like immediate impacts, with Will McDonald being a rotational guy in 2023. But this class to me was more about adding needed depth. Warren's needed depth. You needed, obviously, to round out your roster on special teams, which is what they were able to do with Barnes and Bernard Converse. And they took, high swings on athletes, on really good athletes. So I absolutely get the logic there. And that's how I think they'll have their impact in their first season. The next thing that I wanted to get into, which really came as not much of a surprise, they waited till like seemingly the last minute on this one, but the Jets are not picking up Makai Beckton's 5th-year option, nor did I think they should. To me, I am rooting for the guy, and I think it would be great if the Jets get anything out of him this year. And if you're in a situation where he balls and you're forced to franchise tag him, then that's fine with me. I'd rather be in that spot than guarantee this guy's money for this year and next year when he hasn't played in 2 years. Did not play a single regular season snap. He got hurt in training camp last year. And in his second year, got hurt in the first game of the season and was unable to return at any point. Now, when we saw him as a rookie, he was a really good player and an exciting prospect with, how good he was as a run blocker with his size just being absolutely dominant on that left-hand side. I'd be absolutely thrilled if he's back and healthy and looks the way that he did as a rookie, but you can't lock yourself into that when he hasn't stepped on the field in 2 years. To me, that's the biggest thing. And I get it. There was mixed reviews online from Jet fans. Shocker. We couldn't agree on it. You had some people said it's worth the risk. He's going to bounce back and be fine. You'll get him at a nice value deal in his 5th year. And then others were saying you can't possibly do it. He's hurt all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I think you have to err on the side of caution with this one. I think that was the right decision. To me, there's no way that I could have, wrapped my head around handing him a guaranteed 5th year option. To me, it doesn't make sense after what he's done the last 2 years. He hasn't been on the field. I liked him as a rookie, but there's a ton of risk in doing that. So big year for Makai Beckton. I think obviously the goal is that he starts all 17 games at left tackle, is great, makes a Pro Bowl. You have to franchise tag him and then maybe find a long-term contract extension after that. But, that you cross that bridge when you get there. He's got to prove it first. And I think he can if all things go right, but you don't want to get burned on that one. And I think you'd be setting yourself up to potentially get burned there. So without further ado, let's hop into these voicemails. First up, Derek from Montana is amped up about Aaron Rodgers. Let's hear him out.
Derek in Montana. Go Jets. We got Rodgers. Let's go. I met an Emmanuel McNeil who played for the Jets in 1991. He's a defensive tackle. I got to meet him up here in Montana. You guys have a good day.
Thank you. Did not realize that. Emmanuel McNeil. I'm not really familiar with him. He was there. What year you said? In 91? Let's see. Emmanuel McNeil, NFL. Okay. Yeah, he was with the Jets for one season. He played in 2 games in 1990. 89 was with the New England Patriots. He played in a game. Is he from there? No, he's from Virginia, actually. That's cool that you're able to meet him. And yeah, I think you share the same sentiment that a lot of these Jet fans do. You're amped up about Rodgers? Hell yeah, I am too. It's awesome. Landing a guy like Rodgers and seeing what he could potentially do with the rest of this roster as they're growing. I'm eating up the videos of him being out at the Garden. He's going to be there, by the time you're watching this, he was there with Sauce Gardner at the Knicks game last night. Just things you absolutely love to see. And him talking up Garrett Wilson and all these guys on the Pat McAfee show yesterday is just stellar. Awesome. I love it. You can't keep feeding me the clips, the highlights. I know it's May 2nd, 3rd, wherever you're watching this. I absolutely adore it. It's going to be so much fun. Rez is up next. He wants to talk some Jermaine Johnson. All right, let's do it.
What's up, Matt? It's Rez from PA. Hope all is well, my friend. Just saw the draft with you guys, and I was a little shocked, but did a little bit of digging after a couple hours, and putting 2 and 2 together. We have a predicament at edge where we went X amount of years without getting any edge rushers, and now all of a sudden it's a disaster, according to our Twitter feed on Jets. Either way, man, I'm all right with it. I know the draft didn't go our way, but it's a solid talent. This guy's a solid talent, and I just wanted to ask, do you think this was a premeditated decision? Because we still have to figure out the whole Carl Lawson situation. Obviously, Bryce Huff is on that. I think it's a 2nd round tender. So, yeah, man. I mean, this might just be getting a cheaper contract on. I feel like he's a high floor guy, but he's played all across the line. He's solid, in my opinion. But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Anyway, so Jets, man.
Yeah, it was more on the edge rushers in general. My bad. I don't know why I wrote for my note Jermaine Johnson, but that's exactly how I view it. I think they want to see or land a guy who they feel can be a long-term player here. Doesn't necessarily have to be that huge impact this first year. But you're right. Like Bryce Huff, his contract is up after this season. There's no guarantee that he is back with the New York Jets in 2024. Carl Lawson's contract is expiring after this year. It's more of a, you're right. I think a preemptive thing is a good way to put it. That's absolutely a fair wording of it. And he's going to have a role. And on third downs, he'll be on the field. And if he's able to get home on third downs and be similar to what Bryce Huff has been in his rotational role in year one for Will McDonald and then grow from there, I think you take it. I think you sign up for that and you take it. And they're going for, a championship. And if he is able to help out in that first year and just be that guy who is able to make plays on the edge and sack the quarterback, that's for me. And the great point about bringing up, everyone was yelling and screaming that they've ignored edge for way, way, way too long, which is true. And now they double up on it. And we're like, well, wait, we didn't want it like that. And, maybe it was a little unfair for our reaction. And I didn't love the pick. None of us did on the stream. We were all very, very surprised. And then we've talked ourselves into it a little bit more. But it's going to be a wait and see game for me. But I think his athleticism is going to be fun to watch, at least very early in his career. Max from New Jersey has his draft grade. He is not very happy about it. Okay, let's do it.
Hi, this is Max from Homedale, New Jersey. And here's my thoughts on the draft, especially round one. Round one, I'm going to give it an F. And the reason why I'm giving it an F is because I wanted the Jets to draft it JSN. JSN was still on the board, and we drafted Will McDonald. Here's the problem. We have too many edge rushers. We do not need edge rusher. We need more a wide receiver. And even though we have a stacked wide receiver core, Elijah Moore, he mainly played slot. He's gone, so we have no slot receiver. So it just didn't make sense to draft an edge rusher who's in number 15. And I was talking to other Jets fans. I was at the draft party. Other Jets fans didn't even like the pick. To not like the pick, this feels like a Woody Johnson pick. This is a pick that I feel like Joe Douglas did not want to make. I think he didn't want to make this pick because it was a Woody decision. He wanted to happen. He probably wanted to draft JSN because he was still on the board. I mean, watch this. Will McDonald bust out and JSN becomes a star. I'm just pissed at the first round. Round one alone is an F. Joe Tippmann, he's decent. We do need center. We need to protect the offensive line. I think that was a good pick, but I am so pissed at the Jets for round one because I could have probably played a smarter GM job. If I was a GM, I would have drafted JSN in 2 minutes. What's your thoughts on this? And go Jets.
That was hilarious. What happened? I thought we wanted Anthony Richardson. He wasn't there, shockingly. But JSN, okay. Why would the owner who just spent money on Aaron Rodgers be pounding the table for a wide 9 edge rusher? Let's see. Let's think about this for a second. Between Woody Johnson, Joe Douglas, or Robert Saleh, who was part of a team and an organization who went to a Super Bowl on the backs of a defensive line that they spent numerous first-round picks on over and over and over again. Was maybe a little bit overkill. Maybe it's debatable, but it worked for them. Of those 3, the most likely to pound the table for Will McDonald is Woody. No, this was obviously a Saleh guy. If you look up Robert Saleh edge rusher, and build one in a lab, why do you think he likes Carl Lawson so much? Because of his speed, his bend, and what he can do on the edge. Carl Lawson's only under contract for 1 more year. The plan is for Will McDonald to be a situational guy in his first year, come in, and then eventually take over in that role. Because he is a different style rusher than what Jermaine Johnson is, who is more of I mentioned it earlier, more well-rounded guy. He's a run defender. He's not as twitched up, not as bendy, all that stuff. And again, this is not even me saying that I like the pick and I agree with it, but in an F, and that it's a Woody Johnson pick is hilarious. It's genuinely insane. I thought they were going to take either Kalijah or JSN. They surprised me. They did surprise me. But you talked about the edge room being stacked, which right now it is. But you have, again, potentially losing Bryce Huff and Carl Lawson after this year. Your top 4 wide receivers this year are going to be Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman, who that's your slot replacement, and Corey Davis. And they'll rotate those guys around, and they could use Corey as a big slot. And hell, they used Garrett Wilson a ton in the slot. So there's probably going to be times where it's Allen Lazard and Corey Davis on the outside with Garrett Wilson in the slot. I get it. JSN's an explosive guy, and if they made that pick, I would have been like, okay, I get it. I understand why they went that way. But I don't know. I think that is a complete overreaction. And hilarious that would be a Woody Johnson pick. An owner pick would be someone who wants to make a big splash. Will McDonald is the opposite of a big splash. Bizarre. Let's go to Devin in Vegas up next. He wants to show, speaking of Woody, polar opposite, he wants to show him some love for the last little bit here. All right, let's do it.
What's up, Matt? Devin from Las Vegas.
What's up, man?
Calling in, man. Today, man, just wanted to give my flowers to Woody Johnson, man. So, I know deservedly so. Woody's gotten a good amount of criticism over the past years. So, I definitely understand that. But he's been a breath of fresh air since he's come back to the Jets this time around. With an attitude like he's ready to win. He knows that he's not like the main football guy, so that's why he hired good hires in Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, which, by the way, I was a little interested on the draft, but, I've come around to the point where, I trust their vision and I trust their plan. It was the type of draft where there wasn't necessarily like clear first-round picks or second-round picks, you know what I mean? So
True.
I don't mind that, they picked their guy in Will McDonald and
That's true.
Tippmann and all the other guys. So, but going back to Woody Johnson, man, something I thought was so awesome during the draft is, so first off, they had the Make-A-Wish kid, Kyle, I believe his name is, come out and, hype the crowd up, as much as he could. I'm sure there was a little bit of a letdown for some people when they heard Will McDonald's name instead of
that was
Nick
awesome.
Jigba up there. But, no, man, I thought it was really cool that they gave him the opportunity. And then also that the Jets, one of their other picks, like a day 2 pick or something like that, they did it from their international headquarters in Britain, I believe.
Yeah, from London.
UK.
Yeah.
That's cool too, because, a lot of football teams, first of all, I'm sure that they're involved with Make-A-Wish, but for, the Jets to have a Make-A-Wish kid come up there and have that opportunity, I thought that was so cool. And then also to, flex kind of their international flag, you know what I'm saying, and have a pick to be called from the UK. Like, that's cool too, because a lot of other teams don't have that, man. So, today just want to give my flowers to Woody Johnson, Saleh, Joe Douglas, Hackett, but importantly, man, Woody Johnson, because when the owner wants to win, man, that's usually when, things start happening. Because, look at Robert Kraft, look at some of the other, like Howie, the owner of the Eagles, whatever, like guys who are really involved and want to get that trophy, man. That just inspires the whole team. And if your boss is as hungry as you are, it kind of lights the fire under your ass. So, yeah, just wanted to say kudos to Woody Johnson, man. I love the direction we're going, man. I'm excited to hear your thoughts and opinions too, brother. But, I'm excited for the season, man. Looks like we got a good squad, good front office finally. So let's go, baby. Have a good one, brother. You take care.
Thank you. I appreciate the call, as always, my friend, and great point with showing Woody some love. Listen, I'm not the biggest Woody Johnson fan. I will say I think he's done a pretty good job since he's returned to the New York Jets. And I think it's smart that they have, Joe reports to Woody, Robert reports to Joe, and up the line you go. They don't have what we were calling it, the triangle of doom, the triangle of death, whatever the hell we were calling it, when both the GM and the coach reported to the owner, and there was that power struggle. It was just silly. It was stupid. But he's giving the money that it was necessary. He cleared the Aaron Rodgers trade. And you're right. It was so awesome for them to have the Make-A-Wish kid up there on the stage. He was electric, by the way. That was my favorite part of the draft, just seeing him up there yelling and screaming, doing the Jets chant. From the headquarters, they did the fourth round pick, I believe, Carter Warren. And the second round pick, they had the Brick up there making it. And, he's gotten the alumni involved. And he's, again, I don't think he's going to be perfect, but he is giving them every opportunity. It's when he gets his hands involved and makes some, silly decisions. For instance, I'll give you a few examples. These would be good examples of Woody Johnson getting his hands involved, not Will McDonald, but forcing Brett Favre on Eric Mangini, firing Mangini after that 2008 season, trading for Tim Tebow. Those were examples of Woody wanting to get involved and make things a little bit more on the hectic side. Let's go to Travis from Ohio, who I still owe a cartwheel to. I forgot to record it. That's on me. I will get a cartwheel in here. But he wants to talk about the NFL draft.
Hey, Matt.
What up?
Travis from Ohio.
What's up, man?
Hey, buddy. Knocked it out of the park again with you, Ryan, Green Bean. Crushed the draft night. I watched you guys all weekend. It was awesome.
Thank you.
You guys did another fantastic job. I thank you. Just the Nation, thanks you. I'm kind of in the boat that everybody else is, I guess. All the other reactions, like getting to learn who we got. Like, there's excitement there for the potential because you never know. I'll admit, in the last draft since we got Joe Douglas, like, this is probably my least favorite on paper, but I didn't watch as much college football last year either, and we didn't seem to have as many picks. We definitely didn't have as many high picks, and there's no way we're going to have basically 4 first-rounders like we did last year unless we super suck again. So
we don't want that.
I mean, to win some actual games and not be picking at the top part of the draft every year and drafting guys that might bust out, like a lot of our top guys did anyway. So I actually, it's a weird place where we're actually drafting for depth because we had, I'm not saying we don't have holes, but it doesn't look like Swiss cheese like it has in the past. And if anybody out there is pissed, dude, we basically got drafted Rodgers with this draft. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. We haven't had a quarterback forever, so we got Rodgers with this draft. How can you walk away pissed off at that? I don't care for 2-3 years, whatever. Like, that solves the problem. So, anyway, go Jets. And this is the first year where I can't see a whole lot of undrafted free agents making the team because we don't completely suck. Go Jets. Love you. Bye.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate you checking in and hanging out with us. It's a blast. I absolutely love doing the draft stream. It's a lot. I think we're on for 17 hours in the 3 days, and the 3 days just fly because it's like, all right, stream Thursday night, sleep, back at it Friday, and then you next thing you blink and it's Saturday at noon again and you got to go. And that's the marathon. That's like the 7-hour stream. And you're just like, at that point, we were delirious by the end. It's always, day 3 is always a hilarious time. But you're right. It's different because in Joe Douglas's first draft, I got pick 11, which is, I guess, comparable to pick 15, but it was his first one. So that was a little bit different. It was his first draft. So the vibe of that was different. 2021, they were drafting a quarterback and had another first round pick. This past year, or the 2022 draft, they had 2 top 10 picks. So that was always exciting. And then they traded back up into the for a third first round pick. And then they had Breece Hall, high up in the second round. So that nothing is going to beat that one on paper and how we felt after. But this was an okay draft class. It was fine. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't abysmal. It's a fine draft class, and we'll see how it pans out. I graded it as a B-, and that's the draft grades immediately after. Some people say, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything. You got to wait 2 to 3 years down the line," which is true to an extent. Yeah, but I think it's interesting to compare what the overall consensus was or your feeling on a class initially, and then you go 2 years or 3 years down the line and make that difference. For instance, I liked the 2020 class initially. Now it's not so good because I liked Makai and Denzel. I thought Denzel was someone who could have went in the first round. I thought that's phenomenal value, getting Denzel after trading back from 48. It hasn't worked. He hasn't been good. The rest of that class kind of petered out, but it is what it is, kind of a thing. But thank you, Travis. Again, I do owe you a cartwheel. We'll get that in one of these days. And I'm with you. You don't want to suck, and it's also valid to mention that you got Aaron Rodgers in all this too. So major win from me there. Let's close out with Vinny calling in from Peekskill.
Hey Matt, it's Vinny from Peekskill calling. Monday after the draft wrapped up.
What's up, dude?
I'm feeling pretty good. Look, the first round was a bit of a bummer. New England kind of screwed us by trading out the Steelers so that they could take Broderick Jones. But end of the day, I still like the pick. Like the player, that was good. And getting a much-needed center in the second round was nice. I thought overall we had a very good draft. I'm feeling confident about it.
Love that.
Although, once again, sorry about your Islanders.
Yeah, that was not fun.
If you are actually interested in going to that Islanders meet and greet, there's nowhere to eat in that mall. There's nowhere to eat in that mall that's really good, but right past it is this really nice Puerto Rican joint. So you can actually try some Puerto Rican food instead of me just sending you pictures of it. But that's off topic. Anyways, now we just wait till football season begins because not much else for us to talk about, and go Jets.
Thank you, V-Man. Yes, I did see the date of it that you sent me for this Islanders meet and greet up by you is unfortunately I'm doing a charity walk that morning with through my girlfriend's company, so I will unfortunately not be able to make it up. We'll take a rain check on that, but I'm in on the Puerto Rican food. Send that over, and if I can find a good spot, I would love to get some. And now Rangers fans join me in my misery. Those teams out. Devil fans celebrate. But as far as it goes with the NFL draft, it did feel like New England screwed you a little bit. Thank you, Bill. They tend to do that. I like Tippmann as well. And May and June might get a little bit in the quiet time, but we're going to dive into these prospects a little bit more. I'm reaching out to just a little preview on this one. I'm reaching out to some journalists who covered these guys through their college career. And I want to get a little bit more insight on some of these prospects that the Jets just landed. So be on the lookout for that on the YouTube channel. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, give a like, subscribe if you're not already, comment, share with a friend. Appreciate it. If you are an audio guy or gal, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps. I appreciate all the love and support there. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Just Jets. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary, and I will catch you next time.